And I asked him what I should say as far as the introduction, if I should read the typical bio, and he says, just say that I'm Lloyd Campbell and I'm the district governor of this district. Thank you.
No, normally I wear glasses, and for this particular occasion, I will not. For people who've seen me do my presentation before, you know how much I hate standing in front of a, whatever this is. So what I'm going to do is to ask the young lady to come up here to do my slides. And this also gives me an opportunity not to be recorded, video recorded. You can hear my voice, but can I remove
This
this?
boy.
Okay.
If you break it, they'll say it, I did it.
Okay.
I think
You better than me.
I'll break it.
Yeah. So I'm extremely happy to be here today, to have this opportunity to share with you my story, and also, I guess you could say, what we plan to do this year in Rotary. Is that an echo? Or, okay. Oh, okay, so I need to make sure I have no echo. I can't sing either, so.
Okay.
Every speaker is above you, so you're walking around the side.
Okay, so I can yell then. I have 2 kids, so I'm very good at yelling. So go to the next slide. My journey through Rotary is a little different than most. First, you notice I have hair. And that was pretty important to me back then. But when I joined Rotary a few years ago, probably a couple years after joining Rotary, the first thing I said to my wife is that I wanted to be a DG. I wanted to be district governor. And of course she said, yeah, why? That was the operative word. But at the same time, she was not a member of Rotary, and neither were my kids. But as we progressed through Rotary, she joined Rotary. My wife is a veteran, so she joined the Veterans Club. My son, who is in his now mid-20s, is a member of the Passport Club. And my younger son belongs to the Kaleidoscope Club, a Rotary Club. My youngest son is autistic. And his journey through life is also mirrored why we have moved around so much, and also why we consider education so important to us. So my journey through Rotary was, like I said, a little different. I was raised in a little small town. This is why you didn't do the introduction. A little small town in Arkansas, 400 people. It was an all-Black community. So our impression of the world was sort of sheltered or composed by that community. So whatever they said, we, in a sense, when you grow up in that community, you sort of believe it. My parents were a little different. My father worked on a farm, well, he owned a farm, and he worked 2 jobs to make sure that we got an education. My mother was a teacher. My godmother was a principal of school. So unfortunately, they had a kid like me that was always inquisitive, always asking questions. And a lot of times they didn't have the answers to those questions. And sometimes I would go explore. I remember as a little kid, I told my mom, hey, I want to take the bus today, even though the school's a block away. And I did. Got on the bus. And my mother went frantic because she couldn't find me. At that point in time, she was afraid that I was going to be too outgoing, too outspoken, and that being raised in the 60s in the South, that I was going to get in trouble. I didn't get in trouble, but she was right about all the other stuff. I knew better. We lived 10 miles away from where Martin Luther King was shot. I lived through the civil rights movement. And there's some other stories I can tell you about civil rights, but I'm not getting into that. But the point I want to make here, it's been a journey for me, my family, and my journeys also with Rotary. For, you see, growing up in that little small town, one of the things that my parents taught me is always give back. You know, be thankful for what you have, but take the time to give back to the community. Because what you give to the community, you're going to get back 3 or 4 folks later on in life. So take that opportunity to give back. So having a bunch of jobs, getting a good education, finding a fabulous woman to marry. Make sure that's recorded. Okay, so she hear me say that. And we moved to Glenwood, Minnesota. We've had opportunity to live around the world because of Uncle Sam and some other things, and we enjoyed that. Our kids actually grew up overseas, so they have a totally different perspective of the world than I had when I was growing up. So when we were in Glenwood, I was involved in several things, but initially no one ever asked me to join Rotary. Other places that I've lived around the world, no one asked me, and I've been on boards, been sitting next to folks, and I sold the Rotary wheel on somebody's shirt. No one asked me to become a Rotarian until I got to this little small town in Minnesota, and I became a Rotarian. He had actually invited me to lunch. I met some great people there initially, and I had a great time. But next slide. Oh, it's not moving. So they never asked. Now the next slide. But in time, what I found out about my club, it was not really the most welcoming place at that time in the world. I would come to meetings and everyone had their own little table to sit at. So if I got there early and said someone would stare at me for a little while, and I just, okay, maybe I should sit here. And it reached a point where I was trying to make a decision. What should I do? Should I, because I'm paying dues to be a part of this organization. And I realized that, let me just wait for another meeting. Thank goodness I did, because at that time, someone from the foundation came by. Remember I told you earlier, when my youngest child is autistic. A little backstory, one of the things that he enjoys doing is ride a bike. When we lived here in the cities, there was a bike camp where they would teach kids who are with disabilities to ride a 2-wheel bike. He did not complete the course, but he fell in love with riding a bike. So this person came to us and talked to us about the foundation, about how I can take $1, give it to the foundation, and 3 years later it comes back to me, and then they will match it with whatever program we put together. I'm sitting back in the back of the room saying, what? Say that again? You're in wealth management, can you take $1? Give it to someone, it comes back in 3 years, 100% back, and you can invest it in 7 to 8 times more. I thought that was just remarkable. So I came home and said, hey, let's do a bike camp here in Glenwood. Now Glenwood is 2,500 people. At the time, our membership was around 25. But we put on a bike camp. And I had the opportunity to travel around the state, talking to different clubs about donating to this bike camp. Now, it was late in the season. I didn't know that much about Rotary, but what happened was people reached in their pockets and when I would do a presentation and actually give us money to put this bike camp on. The bike camp cost in double-digit figures because they were sending the whole equipment here to Glenwood, and we didn't want to charge the participants any funds at all. Because Glenwood's not, the richest place in the state. But we put on that bike camp. The Rotarians came out and helped. And it just filled my heart about what Rotary can do. But it also told us, next slide, it also told us too, that what one person can do with just an idea, if you take the time to imagine something, what you can actually do to change something. Now, that quote up there about my club will not let you join was an incident that happened here in the city. At a district event, and if you read the article in Rotary International magazines, I think it was in March or April, it tells the story about what actually happened to me. We were having a convention. I walked to the table. I was, you know, it's a district event. So most of the clubs were sitting together. I was the only one from my club who would drive 2.5 hours to the cities to be a part of this. And I introduced myself to everyone at the meeting at that table. And the last person I walked up to wasn't you. I extended my hand and he looked at me and said, my club will not let you join. You would not be part of my club. You would not be a Rotarian at my club. Now that did not bother me at all, because a little bit about my background, you know, grew up in Arkansas. I went through the civil rights movement. I heard worse than that. But the thing that upset me at that time was the people at the table didn't say anything. They didn't look at me and say, hey, that's not my brother. I don't know where this guy's from. They did not say a word. Now, if the story stopped there, in a sense, it would have been a tragedy. Because we would have seen the part of Rotary that we know exists in some of our clubs. But that was just a snapshot. Because at that same moment, maybe seconds later, on the other side of the room, someone was yelling, hey, you're new to Rotary. What's your name? Come here. Let's talk. You need to come and join my club. I'm not going to tell you what club it was. But they actually invited me. It's amazing how many phone calls and emails you get. They actually invited me to their club for the next week. I drove another 2.5 hours back to that club and had an outstanding time. They had the best breakfast you would ever have. Bacon and eggs and oh, it was just fantastic. And everyone welcomed me into that club. So I knew at that time Rotary was in transition. There are some Rotarians that are maybe back in the 1900s, and there's some Rotarians in the 21st century. And it was extremely important that you find that club that matches what you're looking for. Now, back to my club, I got involved in the club, on the board, several other things, and eventually became president. Now that club has changed since then, from a small club of 24, 25 to now a club of 55 members. It's because they took the time to adapt, to change, to look around in the community and do things. They increased the things they were doing in the community that represented what the community was actually looking for. Now, when you look at the demographics of Glenwood, we're the only Black family in Glenwood. So when someone talked about DEI to them, they said, oh, we met it because Lloyd and their families are part of that. But the reality of it, we're still only 30% women. And population here in Minnesota is 51% women. So we still have a long way to go. We still have to work on some of those things. But so
one more back. There you go.
there we go.
Touching two buttons.
Yeah.
So this year, our new Rotary International president has 4 things that she's looking for. One is DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, which simply means that we reach out in the community and have our clubs represent what our community is all about. So in Glenwood, they sort of get around the minority issue with me, but they can't get around the women issue. You know, you gotta bring more women into the organization, period. You gotta have a welcoming experience. It's interesting when you look at the statistics in all our clubs. We're very good at welcoming people and getting people to come in. Getting people to come in. When the people signed up pretty quickly. Getting people to come in. But the most important thing is getting people to stay, to be active, to be involved. Those are the things that we have to work at and try to accomplish. Yeah, we love our friends. When we see them at lunchtime, we come around the table and say hello. But for the new person in the room, spend your time and talk to them. And also for the people who are here. If all of a sudden someone is not here that you see all the time, please find out why. Phone call, email, something. Let them know that you care. Now, the reason I'm bringing all this up, this is what you told us, what you would like for us to do. So no more slides. You don't do any more slides. So I know my time is probably running low. But
Oh, you're good.
You got 15 minutes. You're good.
oh, it's gonna take the other 15 minutes.
There you go.
Oh.
Okay.
So we have to be a welcome club. We have to empower women, not just hearsay or just word of mouth, but actually empower women. And that starts with by empowering girls. And we have to also extend our hands out into the community to get them involved. So one of the things that I'm doing here today is we're making changes. Now, some of the changes is strictly because we just coming out of COVID, okay? And we're gonna do some things that we might not do again next year, but we're doing it this year to have some type of impact. So let's talk about some of those changes. When we talk about membership, last year we lost 151 members. That's the most we've lost, period. 151 members. I can't, when I saw the numbers, I couldn't fathom that because we're in a zone here, which means that that's from Canada to Mexico, the middle of the United States. That's the zone that we're in. And we were at the bottom. We lost more members than anyone else. Now, why that hurts me, because at one time I was the district membership chair. Not to brag, but during a 4-year period of time, we increased membership each one of those years. And that has been our moniker. That's been our signature. We Rotary. We're the innovators. When people look at us, they look at us and say, oh, you can't increase the next year. You can't increase the next year. You can't increase. And we did. But now all of a sudden, we lost 151 members. So we're doing things for membership this year. One of them is simple things that doesn't cost any money. One is just simply to ask people to come to your meeting. One of the things that you told us through surveys is that 61% of them, and it's not this club, there are a couple of the clubs who feel that they won't ask anyone to come to their meeting. 61%, I'm sorry, 66%. When you look around in this room and say, how did you become a Rotarian? I'm sure at least 85% of you are going to say, someone asked you. So we're not asking people to come to our meetings, minimum, or to be a Rotarian. That's the glue that holds us together. That's the thing that makes us grow. When we're not asking people to come to our meetings or to be Rotarians, we've given up. So that has to change. So the thing we're doing here is simply an ask program. That's with a K. So don't get the impression. Just ask with a K. And basically all we're doing is just at the beginning of the meeting or sometime in the meeting, just simply ask, who asked someone to come to the meeting today? So if I was to ask that question today, who can raise their hands? Okay. They asked me, that's what I think. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
you see now this was an opportunity for you to bring someone into your organization, just simply asking them to come to the meeting. If you do not do that, I'm not saying that they actually come, but you gotta at least ask. But if you're not doing that, we're not growing. We're not going to, we're gonna lose this battle. Now, so that's our ask. Okay, program. The other one that we're doing, a couple of things. One is, again, we're going to do the $500 grant for engagement and safe meetings. So that, but we have a limit on it. It's basically $5,000 for the district, that's the budget. And you can apply starting September the 7th for a grant up to $500. You can match it or you don't have to match it. And it's designed for safe meetings and engagement. So engagement can mean an advertisement about your meeting on social media or in the newspaper. So do some creative writing, send it in. It's first come, first serve. A couple other things that we're doing that's a little different is that we're in the process of negotiating having a radio program, radio and podcast. So that gives us an opportunity to do two things: to talk to spread our message outside of our clubs, to let people know all the good things we're doing. When I go to your websites and see the things that you're doing, and I look around and say, what the heck, I didn't know about that. I wish I was there. We need to let the public know what we're doing. Even though I'm camera shy and I'm not in front of the camera, we should let people know what we're doing. But also too, we need to make sure that we're getting our message out to our members too. So one of the things we've done is we're actually redoing our public image. And the person who's in charge of that, your own Betsy, is going to be in charge. Now she's not going to do everything. She's in charge of a group of people who will be doing this. One of the things that we've done is hire a marketing firm to take a look at how we do the things we do. Everything is staying within Rotary standards. We're not changing the brand or changing the wheel or anything like that. But we're changing the language we use when we talk to people to bring in a broader group of individuals and to reach out in the communities that don't know anything about Rotary.
Do you all remember Tia, who was with us a couple of meetings last fall and did some service projects with us? So Tia works for White Box Marketing, and that's the firm that the district hired. And I started wondering if she was here learning.
Oh.
And I'll have to ask her when I see her next.
Yeah, that's
Because she came for a few meetings and then didn't come back. Right now, I'm wondering if she was a mole. Not in a good way. In a positive way.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they did a great presentation. Now I know.
They're smart.
But that's the future of Rotary. I'm in that group when I'll always hate to say this. We need to get younger, but I need to say it because I'm in that group where we're aging out. You can look at the statistics and clubs, and you can see the numbers of people who leave Rotary in your club after so many years. It's hard to replace that. And it's important that we bring in younger members into our organization so that we can also be adaptable to our environment. It's unfortunate in the sense that when you look at these statistics, you see the birth of a club, you see the maturity of the club, you also see the death of the club. And it's predictable if things don't change. And it's always in our power to make that change. The other day, I did a meeting and was looking at the statistics, and this particular club, which is a great club, a large club, was started by another club that is going by the wayside. But 20 years ago, the club that started their population was in close to 100. But now, because they did not change in a changing environment. They were in a community where the demographics just moved from an all-white community to a very diverse community, and the club did not change. I remember talking to them saying, why are you having a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning? When you have a principal of school, you have people who, and they were trying to attract young people who were taking their kids to school. I said, you need to think about, no, this is the way we've done it. Okay, okay, but, and now they are, they requested that, they give up their charter. Now, I told them, no, they're not gonna give up their charter. Because it's not the charter, it's not Rotary, unfortunately, because we are Rotary. Okay, simply because someone didn't want to change, they want to give up a charter. It's hard to hit, you really want to know. Extremely hard to hit. So if they decided not to become Rotarians anymore, we were fine. Is it that time when people start looking at the watch? You know? It lets us know that maybe we should look for a different type of people to come in and have that club be more adaptable, to change with the time, to look at the demographics, to maybe meet at noon or have 2 or 3 different times. The successful clubs in our organizations have been the ones with different membership profiles. One might have one where a company comes in and one person represents the company, but they have other people that come in also too, and maybe at a different price point. So when people talk about dues, you can have a person that come in and pay only $25, not Rotary International, the district won't recognize it. But they would have a chance to see what Rotary's all about, to increase the money that's coming to you. You have to make sure they at least cover your costs. You know, if you have a big meal, make sure it at least covers that meal. But it gives you an opportunity to have more hands on deck to do a variety of different things. So flexibility is definitely one of those key things that you need to think about when you want to grow your organization. When you look at what successful clubs are doing and what clubs that are failing are doing, it's up to you to make the decision on what you want to do. And every once in a while you get a hard-headed DG that will say, if you do anything bad, we're not getting rid of the charter, we just have to find different people to run the charter. I guess my message here today is that we're here to help. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to open the floor up to you. How can the district help you become a better club? What can we do and what can we provide for you so that you can be successful? Rotary has always been successful because it's been a ground-up organization. You have the great ideas. People like me are just, I don't even want to term administrators, but people like me are, you know, we're just here. You're the ones with the great ideas, and you know what we should be doing. And sometimes we don't get the opportunity to tell us, or we don't listen. So one of the things that I'm doing this year is being sleep deprived, but also trying to listen to what the clubs are saying. And that's what we've done those 2 surveys. A lot of information in it, but I also want to come to the club and say, tell me what can we do to help you? So that's what I'm asking now. Don't clap.
I got one.
Yes.
We don't do it here, but other clubs, that there's a penalty for things. I think anything punitive is the most unwelcoming thing. So I would say ban all of the penalties and fines and things. And then the other thing is money. A lot of people are struggling. They want to network. They want to get connected to people, but $300 a quarter is beyond what they can do. Like money for real.
So what we do it when we have speakers that we just don't want to let go of, but it's a time. We'll close the meeting, and then anybody who has to leave is welcome to go, and anybody who wants to stay and just pick your brain.
Keep talking.
We'll be here till at least 5, and then it's happy hour, so we gotta quit. Okay. So
Happy hour is 4.
is it 4? Oh, you just lost an hour.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Right.
So if you please stand and we will do the four-way test. And this is, the four-way test of the things that we think, say, and do. First.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And have
It's
fun.
coming.
Yeah, or the bill.
Darn.
Thank you.
Right when he's getting this one together.